Hello, my name is Linda Wasylciw, also known as L.M. Wasylciw and or Professor Scry, and I'm going to tell you a bit about padding versus fleshing a story. You've finally finished the first draft and it's time to do the editing, the hardest part. Thankfully, forcing a book to a certain length is a quaint old custom that is happily behind us. So don't cut the story to please a certain genre of people, but most importantly, don't pad the story simply to create a doorstopper. When you read it through for the first time, you will likely realize with a stinking feeling that the story seems a bit skimpy or a tad short. The trick is how to add substance, fleshing out a story, rather than just padding. It's much easier to do this if you can identify the signs of padding. If a story is padded, it's packed with inconsequential detail that makes the story longer but doesn't enhance it in any way. Your dialogue might meander, not moving the story forward. Maybe there's too much description. Know when enough is enough. Delete the extra characters. There's no need to bloat the cast without adding value to the plot. And look for inconsequential problems that you might have created. More often than not, they're annoying sidetracks that doesn't add to the story. Recognize inefficient transitions. Speed up the moving of characters from one place or time to another. Sometimes it's so simple as beginning a new chapter. Delayed endings with unnecessary explanations bore the reader. There's no need to explain why the characters did this or did that. Your readers are not stupid, and if it's written properly, it should have been obvious in the first place. Now the key, knowing how to flesh out a story. Ways of adding depth and texture. Firstly, you have to decide what your specific problem is. Then, explore the character's thoughts, add emotional punch, and bring people and places to life. An action-packed story with too much action is no action at all. Number one, if your story is too short, add a new plot twist that would give a new level of complexity to the main story. Maybe even a new subplot, but keep in mind that it must add depth. You might introduce a new character, a significant character, not just a caricature that will take up a few more pages and add a few extra lines of dialogue. You might even introduce a new dimension to your main character. There might be a secret to his or her past. Number two, if your story is too bare bones, look at the way you describe people, places, and events. Perhaps you're too economical with words, or that you haven't chosen the right words or phrases that evokes what you want to say. You might need to develop plot and characters by adding more depth, or your viewpoint might need emotional punch. Remember to show, not tell, by starting to think in terms of the five senses. That alone will give your story more emotional punch, and it will help the reader to picture the scene. It goes far beyond describing the smell of manure, the sound of an ambulance, seeing a child born, feeling the texture of the bark on a tree, or tasting blood. Allow your reader to experience it. Allow your reader to become a part of your story. In the end, it's much more than bulking up a story, and writers who constantly apply themselves are the ones who ultimately succeed.